What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another video guide. And in today's video is going to be on Act 3, Chapter 2, Part 1. Part 1's Lufenia fight. And before we do start, like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help the channel guys, and I would really appreciate it. So I know this video is already quite late, so without further ado, let's start this video. And of course, we'll start this off on how to deal with the Lufenia orb, which starts at less than 80% of the boss's HP. You will get +4 when the target takes a non-elemental magic brave damage. A couple of characters that really just pop into my head are Terra, Hope, Sarah, Emperor, and Ultimisia. I would highly suggest not bringing an enchanter, because that's really gonna screw you up, even though, you know, these characters can do non-elemental magic brave attack. As soon as you bring an enchanter, that obviously changes, so just keep that in mind. And how the fight works for this boss is pretty simple. The bosses will get HP when they go below 80, 50, and 30% HP. They also cannot be delayed when they are concentrating. You will see like a little, arrows going around in the turn order for the boss. As soon as you see that, then they cannot be delayed. They can also remove buffs when they're using Needle Shot Plus, which happens when they are concentrating. If they are not concentrating, I do believe they only use the normal Needle Shot, so you shouldn't be afraid of your buffs going away and getting hit by a very strong HP damage. They also absorb the thunder element and is double resistance to range, so maybe try to avoid bringing ranged characters, although like characters that can self-enchant themselves, I think is something that you can do to avoid the double resistance to range, but I wouldn't, like I said, I would try to avoid bringing a enchanter overall. The boss is also immune to paralyze and HP silence debuff, as well as knockback, and has a lot more debuff immunities and I don't really want to list them all down, because I believe these are the three main important ones that should be highlighted anyway. So now let's see how you're gonna deal with this fight. So when the boss are concentrating, you have to do as much HP damage to remove the concentration. So you can use your turn manipulation to your advantage. So what I mean by this is you can delay the targets earlier before you hit those HP threshold. You can use Terra's LD to basically get a lot of turns and get the amount of damage you need. I don't know exactly the amount of HP damage you need to do, but one of Terra's LD is basically strong enough to take one of them out at the very least, out of their concentration. So things like Onion Knight's LD can work here as well if you're using his call ability is another one of those things that you can do. And obviously, since this video is coming out after Amethyst Lion's Lost Chapter, you can use Amethyst Lion as well. That's another option. So as far as anything is just manipulating the turns before you hit those HP threshold. Also bring a tank, because it actually makes it so much safer for you in terms of if you don't get to that point. Having a tank to tank the amount of HP damage that you're going to take is going to be a very nice safety net for you in this fight. Alright, so now let's talk about some characters that you might want to bring for this fight. I got Bosch, Ultimisia, Emperor, Arciela, Furion, Emperor, Gladio is a good one to bring here as well. Sarah, Keys, Warrior of Light is actually a good one as well with his LD. Cloud, Aerith, Squall, and Hope. The only biggest thing here is just, again, avoiding bringing enchanters that enchant the entire party. Self-enchanters are alright, you can bring those, but I would try to avoid like party enchanter as much as possible. Now, as for cold characters, it kind of remains the same. I think the biggest one here is obviously Jack and Gabranth. Ramza, I believe, is still alright if you do need those buffs, but the boss is immune to knockbacks. So, if anything, you can probably take Ramza off this list and put something else. But I think if you're looking for a little bit of healing, you know, a little bit of some buffs that he can provide, I think it's like, you know, it's not the best, but it is something you can consider. But I think out of everyone here, I think Ramza is probably down on my list. Okay, so now let's go through some party compositions. Of course, the first one is the video you guys are seeing right now, which is my team Tara, Sarah, and Bosch. I've got Jack and Hope and Gabranth as for my cold team. Support Ramza and Odin for my summon, because unfortunately the boss is able to absorb Ramuh's thunder element, so Odin is actually the next best choice, at least in my opinion, because he can reduce the boss's defense to a certain percentage. I think it's 15%, so it's actually a really big amount, considering if you compare it to your increasing your attack by 30%, in decreasing the boss's defense is actually much better choice since it's a higher number. So basically this is a pretty safe team to use, at least in my opinion anyway. Now the second team I have for you guys is going to be Emperor, Aerith, and Ultimisia. The cold team for this one is going to be Anya Knight, Jack, and Hope. The support is Emperor, and again the summon is going to be Odin. Now the support for my first team isn't actually the best choice. I actually didn't really see that it was immune to knockback, so yeah, that was my fault, but it still worked out in the end. You know, having that Brave Battery is actually not a bad choice, like I said previously. But if you want a more, you know, offensively better support, Emperor is probably the next best choice, and probably Ultimisia going to be the next one. Okay, so the last team I have for you guys here is going to be Terra, Ultimisia, and Hope, with a cold team of Gabranth, Jack, and Aerith. Support again Emperor or Ultimisia, whichever you really prefer, and then Odin for the summon. So this is going to take advantage of that non-elemental brave damage, right? All your characters can sort of fill in that role. And you know, you got some turn manipulation, 2 turn manipulations here, especially if you have Ultimisia's what do you call this, burst weapon. That's it. But with just her EX as well, that is a big thing to have, because you're gonna get multiple turns out of that as well. Alright guys, so we are towards the end of this video. The final thing to really take note is how I feel about this fight. Overall, the fight isn't that difficult. It was more difficult for me trying to figure out where the HP thresholds are, and they're usually pretty, you know, I guess it can change a little bit from time to time, but in this case it was just finding out where those HP thresholds were and actually using like the turn manipulation. Having Terra's LD really helped me out here. But yeah, it's just looking for those HP threshold. But now that you know, thanks to this video, where those HP thresholds are, you can sort of plan ahead when it comes to that. And you know, if by any chance you didn't do enough HP damage, then like I said, I suggested bringing a tank, and that should be able to let you live you know, for at least the next turn. And for the calls, you know, you can use Aerith as well. It's something I probably didn't mention in this video. If you need a little bit of a revive here and there, if you're not using her on your main team. So overall, it was a pretty fun fight. I don't think it was that hard or that difficult. It was just more finding out the HP threshold and planning ahead. So that is it for this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel, and I would really appreciate it. And I would really appreciate even more if you share this video. Follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. Leave down in the comments below which team you use for this fight and the strategy you use. Did you use Terra, or did you use some sort of other turn manipulation? Let me know down in the comments below. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.